More now on the NATO summit, the G8, the calls to tax financial transactions. We're joined by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, Fox News contributor Judy Miller, also Cliff May, president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, and John Lonsky, chief economist for Moody's Capital Markets. Thank you all for being here. John, I'm going to turn to you first. These markets are starting to, at the very least, look a little volatile. The Dow Jones Industrials has lost almost 100 points from the 52-week, 1,000 points from the 52-week high, all because of the political uncertainties in Europe.
That's part of it. Of course, we have political uncertainties in the United States, the upcoming elections, and let's not forget that emerging market countries from Asia, China, appear to be slowing down.
And slowing down significantly in many instances. Cliff, the G8 meeting, NATO in Chicago, what in the world can we expect, if anything, from these two meetings?
I don't think we can expect a whole lot of progress. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of agreement on almost any of the important issues, whether on Iran or whether on Afghanistan or whether on how to deal with the world economy. I think it's good for the leaders to get together. It's good for them to talk in an intimate setting, but I doubt you're going to see any real achievements coming out of any of this.
An intimate setting and a wonderful chat. I mean, the money this represents is exorbitant. And if no one's noticed, we're in very serious straits globally in terms of this economy. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's wonderful that they're all having a kumbaya moment out in Chicago. I think it's great that the Occupy Wall Street folks have moved en masse to Chicago. It'll do wonders for their economy, but nothing is going to come out of this summit, I fear. I think Cliff is right. I think John is right. We're in such dire straits, and there's an unwillingness to look at these, to face these problems squarely.
This is the kind of thing that I would think would scare the dickens out of an economist as you look at, as Cliff described it, an intimate setting and these leaders, and France with a new president who is now talking about Afghanistan. They're going to provide, how did he put it, a different format of support, just no troops. I kind of like his style.
The serious thing is that resolving the European crisis may take as long as trying to end the war in Afghanistan. I hope not. I don't think we have that particular luxury. But we are entering, a dangerous point. Markets are losing patience. And my guess is that the only way we're going to resolve European issues once and for all is by way of a shocking, terrifying plunge by financial markets. Hold on to your seats.
And with that advisory, Cliff, that doesn't sound like it's going to make for a very interesting, intimate moment at Camp David amongst the G8 leaders.
It doesn't, and some of the proposals that have been talked about are likely to make things worse. This idea of a Robin Hood tax. First of all, it's a misnomer. Would Robin Hood have wanted the sheriff of Nottingham to have greater taxing authority? I don't think so. And what we need, I think you'll agree, Lou, and I hope others will agree, is more robust growth. And they're talking about things that would retard growth and would make the economy worse. That's bad, and that's bad for not just for the economy. It's also bad because strong security requires a strong economy. We need to have both, and we don't right now.
And we don't have leaders, Judy, who seem capable of creating a plan, a proposal, a direction, a vision to restore prosperity. Not in this country, not in Europe. And, if I hear one more person tell me how sophisticated and bright the economists of Euroland are, I mean, they look like abject fools over there.
It really is disappointing and kind of frightening. I hope that there is some tough talk at Camp David before Chicago, because there really needs to be. And I want the president to remind the new socialist president of France that Bob Gates, when he was leaving office as Secretary of Defense, said, NATO, pull up your socks. Come on, France, Germany, you've got the money. Spend a little on mutual defense. They won't do it. I think that there's a great deal of bonhomie, to use a French word, but there's no real willingness to tackle tough problems and share burden and share pain.
Well, one of the tough problems, obviously, is Iran. The U.S. ambassador to Israel, Dan Shapiro, saying that military force against Iran is not only available, but it's ready. this is a U.S. ambassador running his mouth off in Israel as if he is speaking directly for the President of the United States. I mean, what more can this administration do to confound both expectations and just basic good form of leadership and government?
Well, the other thing that is going on is we're less than a week away from new negotiations in Baghdad with the Iranians. And I would argue, Lou, that you want to show the Iranians right now that if they do not make some concessions, if they do not stop their nuclear weapons program, they're going to feel a lot more pain, and that military...
Let's be honest here. Let's be straightforward here. We have heard talk. We have seen incremental sanctions applied. We've watched them ratcheted up over the years, and to no avail whatsoever. The time for tough talk and posing and posturing by our political leaders of either party is ended. We look like we are beginning to look foolish indeed as the world's only superpower because we've been unable to resolve a conflict that is now the longest in our nation's history. And we continue to walk around like we're in some sort of opera, with these silly uniforms on in Washington, D.C., each of them filled with a general who's been unsuccessful in achieving victory. I don't want to hear any more tough talk.
The only thing I would say is we're going into negotiations with the Iranians. We have not done well in negotiations with the North Koreans or with the Russians or others.
Are you saying we should look for a country with whom we could successfully negotiate? Is that what you're saying here?
I hope it doesn't come to that. But the only way it's going to work with the Iranians is if they come to the negotiations saying, what do we have to do to get your boot off our neck? And our boot has to be on our neck. And that means that Congress should be passing tougher sanctions and letting the Iranians know that it's going to get even worse. The Iranian economy is hurting very badly. Rial is 50% of what it was. Inflation is between 24 and 40%.
So is Greece's.
So is Greece.
So are we.
We could probably successfully negotiate. You're right. We couldn't negotiate with Greece either. All I'm saying is that if we want these negotiations, not to get beaten by Iran in negotiations.
I'm done. I'm looking for that country with whom we can successfully negotiate and talk up and not get slapped around.
Panama.
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. No, look, the Iranians, the only time they've suspended their nuclear program is when they were right after we invaded Iraq, when they were really frightened that the same thing was going to happen to them. They're not afraid anymore. And no matter how many speeches the American ambassador gives in Tel Aviv to reassure them that we have a military plan, no one believes that we're willing to.
We have the finest military in the world, the most advanced technology, and leadership that's been utterly unsuccessful in leading this military. Some people should be asking why and demanding accountability from those generals, period. Your outlook for this economy, global economy, and our own, given all of the instability that we see both economically and politically around the world?
It's a worried outlook. Still, I think the U.S. can grow between 2 and 2.5%, provided that we stabilize Europe quickly enough and provided that China's economy doesn't slow too dramatically. There's a lot of ifs out there. There's reason to be cautious.
I want to offer, if I may, to the ifs, one certainty, and that is that the dollar right now, all of the discussion a year ago about the RMB, the Chinese yuan replacing the U.S. currency as the world's reserve, the euro stepping forward, and all of the euro socialists who were insisting upon it are now begging for entry into our debt markets and our good old dollar. I'm feeling a lot better, personally.
Yeah, the big shock is that the euro is as strong as it is today. I don't understand why the euro isn't at parity with the dollar, given the problems that they have in Europe.
Well, I think the answer to that is straightforward. The markets have spoken.
Mm-hmm. They will continue to speak.
John, thank you very much. Cliff, thank you for being here. Judy, as always, thank you. On Wall Street,